Today, right now, just for information, I'm sitting in Malaysia with Vikas ji. Many of you might have definitely have heard him previously. You might have met him also probably. So today the idea was to have a live interaction between both of us. Maybe Vikas ji will ask few questions to me, and of course, all the audiences who are here right now, they can ask question as well. We will address all those questions. So this is going to be a very interesting one, as I believe, because I always feel like when two people are talking each other face to face, then it comes with a very different way compared to when you talk on live somewhere on YouTube or on Zoom like that. So that's how we thought to have this an opportunity to interact with each other to make it more effective and more meaningful and fun-based as well. So as always, before we go further from here onward, the agenda is very simple. Quickly, we will have a quick round of introduction about Vihangam Yoga. Most of us are familiar about that, and thereafter Swagat Gan and Mangal Gan. And then we will have interaction. Thereafter, we will open the forum for any questions. If any one of you have any question, please feel free to drop it out in the chat box. Or in fact, more interestingly, what I want is you should come on the audio or along with video and then ask question. I think that will be more meaningful. Hearing whoever the person is, your voice, hearing to me also is very interesting. So I'd request all those who have some questions, please come on the Zoom, unmute yourself or open your video also, and then ask question. That will be more better and interesting going to happen. So quickly about Vihangam Yoga. We all have been hearing about this, that Vihangam Yoga has been established in 1924 by His Holiness Sadguru Sridharpal Dev Ji Maharaj, but it has a very specific objective. Swamiji established Vihangam Yoga with a very specific objective. This organization, Vihangam Yoga, although that time there was no any organization as such, later on it had taken some shape, but the real objective for him to have this organization, this name Vihangam Yoga organization, is that the part which he has achieved, he wanted other people also to achieve in a similar way. And he said that I had been guided by the eternal master, the Guru, and he himself has authorized me, of course, with the order of the Almighty, that this knowledge, the Brahma Vidya, should be disseminated to other people in the right way, right manner as well. And that's why he stood in front of everyone, mentioning that I'm here to let you know, to guide you, to take you to that zone of immortality, provided you just do what I have asked you to do. So the real objective of Vihangam Yoga is to provide salvation to the eligible ones, of course. Everyone and anyone will not reach out to that level. One has to progress, one has to make himself, herself as eligible as possible so that the real objective can be achieved. Right now, the current Sadguru is Sadguru Swatant Dev Ji Maharaj, who is, of course, based in India, in the head center in Allahabad, Jhusi. But Swamiji used to travel around the world to make anyone's and everyone beneficial by his darshan, his discourses, his Amritvani. In Singapore, we started Vihangam Yoga Singapore as a registered organization in 2018. And since then, the journey has been very different for all of us in Singapore. And from Singapore itself, we have been trying to reach out to various different people in Southeast Asian countries so that everyone can be benefited from this wonderful, unique meditation technique. Just to highlight, there is one very fine, refined, big structure has been built already, as you can see in the slide, called Swarvet Mahamandir. at Varanasi. This is a spiritual center to meditate anyone, and it's so big that 20,000 people can sit at one time in this particular structure and feel the presence of the spirituality, presence of the atoms and molecules activated at that particular place. Right now, this structure has already been built. The shape has been given, as you can see, but some beautification is still being done. One phase is going to be completed very soon, but there are few more phases based on which this whole structure will be completed. So at any one time, you feel like, or you are in India and near to Varanasi, please, I would request to go and visit this center and see the beauty and experience the divine presence inside this structure. So with this quick introduction, now let us move towards Swagat Gan and Mangal Gan. Vikas ji and myself, both of us will be doing Swagat Gan and Mangal Gan together. And then thereafter, we will reach out to you as well as among ourselves, between ourselves, to have interaction about Vihangam Yoga, spirituality, meditation, or whatever it would come through. So let us start Swagat Gan. आज स्वागत नित्य गुरुवार संत शुभागम अध्यात्म विद्या सोम रस शुद्ध भेद ज्ञान द्वार खुले द्वारा शब्द सा भक्त जन जन सदा विश्व आज स्वागत संत शुभागम मंगलगान विश्व शांति परम गुरु को ध्याये वह शांति भाव भेद सार्वभौम समष्टि भेष भाव समृद्धि सुख शांति स्वर्ग भूमि विश्व शिक्षक जन नीति स्वर्ग विश्व शांति गुरु को ध्याये सदैव की जय. So now with this, we are coming to the Q&A discussion in the form of course, interaction and not many questions probably. So I think I can see some people have joined on Zoom. And before Vikas ji and I start discussing on some of the questions which probably Vikas ji has, is it quickly we can check if anyone has any specific question to start with, or otherwise I request Vikas ji to start with that. Quickly in 10 seconds, anyone can unmute yourself. Okay, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, no problem. So we'll come back to you. So Vikasji, now over to you. So please help me out by asking some questions so that we can have an interactive session on that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Shivaji. And Jai Sat Gurudev to everyone, those who have joined us over Zoom. And yeah, I mean, I feel a bit fortunate that Shivaji is here with me and I'm sitting with him. So that's a good day for me, for sure. About Vihangam Yoga, the components and all the related things with Vihangam Yoga. So yeah, I definitely have a few questions to you, Shivaji, for related to those. And first thing is about the one we call is the encyclopedia of Vihangam Yoga, which is basically the Swarved. We have been reciting this like even in our regular practice session. We practice it 2 couplets in the morning and 2 couplets in the evening. Not only that, we also recite it ourselves when we go for the meditation. It's told that before meditation, you should recite 5 couplets, few couplets, and that will give another impact when you meditate. So what exactly it's all about? I mean, what kind of importance it has in our life and how it impacts, and how should we make it our, reciting of this Swarved more effective when we meditate? So,
okay. Yeah. So thank you, Vikasji. I think this question has been asked by a few people also, that we have been told that whenever you go for meditation, before meditation, you should read out few couplets, maybe 2, 5, 10, depending on whatever time you have. And then the meditation will be much more effective compared to when you just sit down for meditation and start meditation. And not just that, there are a few more things which, of course, we will be discussing about Swarved. And as you know, as you mentioned also, that every day in the morning, 6 o'clock, when we finish our meditation session, we read 2 couplets. Ideally, in fact, we should have been done this in a reverse way. First, we should have read Swarved couplet, and then we should have meditated. But we have designed it in such a way that no, first let's finish the practice and then we will read Swarved thereafter. The reason behind that is there are many people who still don't know Hindi. They don't understand completely how Swarved has been designed, what exactly all these have. Although in everyday session, we have been explaining it in English also. But the meditation practice session has been designed in such a way that we go on flow, right? You do breathing exercises and then Om and then Gayatri Mantra chanting and then thereafter the meditation. Ideally, the best way could be 1 or 2 couplets could have been added just before the meditation. I'm sure the impact would have been different. But nevertheless, right now we are doing that. First, we finish the meditation practice and then we read. Those who want to stay to listen, they can stay there. Otherwise, we will continue that journey for next 10 to 12 minutes thereafter. Now, coming back to the point that why we should read Swarved couplets before meditating, for that, we need to understand a couple of things. And the very first thing is, what is the objective of the meditation? Why we are doing it, right? So the very first objective, no matter whoever is at whatever level, the first thing is that we have to have control over our mind. So why we are saying we have to have a control over mind? Because the mind is creating lots of problem to us. If it is uncontrolled, then suppose right now we are talking, and suddenly my mind goes to Singapore, my mind goes to India, thinking something else, this, that, etc., anything. Then I will not be completely focused where I have to be. My efficiency will be very, very different at that time point if I am diverted here and there all the time. And mind has a capability to drag you every moment here and there on one object to another. So that's why you first need to have a control over mind. And not just that, unless and until we have a control over mind, the soul inside will not get the opportunity to take over the activities what we have been doing in this world on day-to-day basis.
Mhm.
We are doing the activities in this world on day-to-day basis with the help of mind. And the mind is actually taking us through what things we have to do. But as far as spirituality is concerned, we are not just mind, we are not just body. When we say we are, who am I, is basically a conscious entity inside this body, which we call as soul. Are we familiar with that? Or do we know that term only in word and maybe written somewhere, and we are hearing all the time soul, 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 and soul? Have we ever experienced that entity which exists inside this body? That will be experienced only when the disturbance, the waves of the mind will calm down. But not just for 1 minute or 2 minutes. It has to be calmed down throughout the time. Then only the presence of the soul will be felt by the soul itself. That's why the control over mind is very, very important. And that's why if we set the objective that we are doing meditation to have a control over mind, that means we need to do few things in such a way that the mind doesn't go here and there all the time. So some people during meditation, whichever way they do meditation, they have some music. Some people, in fact, sometimes they hear some mantras also while they are meditating. Some people, in fact, say that if I'm doing a painting, that itself a meditation for me. Of course, all those are fine to certain limit. But as far as Vihangam meditation is concerned, the first stage of Vihangam meditation, where we consider that the mind is not in the control right now, it is moving here and there all the time. The mind has to have an extra external force which doesn't allow the mind to go here and there.
Mm.
When we start meditating, we start focusing at one point, then there is no any way through which actually we are able to let that mind stay at that point. There has to have an extra entity, additional entity, which puts some kind of pressure force on the mind not to go anywhere. So the couplets in Swarved, which has been, of course, composed by Sadhu Sudapal Devji Maharaj, which is designed in the state of Samadhi.
Mhm.
In the state of Samadhi means Swamiji doesn't mean that sitting like this and in the Samadhi state. Once a yogi, a master, a Sadguru is in the state of Samadhi, which means throughout the time, his consciousness is connected with that Supreme Being all the time. So he is basically connected and experiencing the presence of divine throughout the time. And on that basis, what happens is the yogis, the Sadguru experience few sound, few letters. Like it has been mentioned, Rishyo Mantra Drashtara. They see the mantras, they see the letters. So on that basis, Swamiji has written all these couplets. It's not that like that he has thought something and then he has written. He has thought something and then he has written. No, he has seen few things and then he provided his thought on those words and letters, and then he has composed it so that people can read it nicely. So what happens is when we read Swarved couplets, and not just reading, we have to be very much into it at that time point, then your mind is getting trained slowly with those divine sounds and words which were composed by Swamiji himself. And those words are not just like coming from here and there. It has come from there, from that immortal divine zone. And on that basis, when we are reading it out, so when we read through this mouth, when we are reading through these eyes, using these eyes, the mind is also very much into that at that time point. So what happens, the impact of that letter, those letters, impact of those words, when you recite it, when you read it out, it helps you to have a force on the mind to not to go anywhere else, just to be on that letters and words itself. So it creates some kind of aura around the mind in such a way that it doesn't go here and there. And you are very much into that. So it basically creates an environment for the mind not to go anywhere here and there. And it has been seen by everyone that if you practice meditation, and then before that, if you read few couplets of Sarved, you are doing better in meditation. And this is my own experience as well. I'm sure you and other people also have the similar kind of experience. And once you read Sarved and then go for meditation, it has a very different kind of. You really feel like meditating thereafter. So that's why what we want is we want everyone to get in touch with Sarved. Just read it out. Even if somebody doesn't understand or know Sarved, doesn't matter. We have been providing the text in Hindi as well as in English. Sarved app is also there where whole couplet is mentioned in Hindi and English also. So those who don't understand Hindi, they can read it out in English also. Reading it, reciting it, brings some energy from within. We don't have to forget that how that word, those words have been created or written in the Sarved. It is coming from somewhere else. It is coming from that divine zone that in the form of energy, which Sadhguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj has given form in the light. So once we read it out, we feel connected with it. There are many people who once they read it out, even they don't know Sarved, once they read it out, they feel like very much connected with it. So that connectivity itself will reduce much of your disturbance while you meditate. That's why it is very important. And Swamiji himself says that you should read few couplets of from Sarved before meditation. So here one more thing I want to mention, that if we are disciple of Swamiji, what is the meaning of being a disciple? Being a disciple of someone, the master, that means that you follow what he says. And whichever way he says, take it as it is. If you are not taking it as it is, if you are adding out our few more thoughts, few more analysis at our mind basis or intellect basis, then what happens is we are losing out the originality. And we never know, he's at a different level. From that level, if he's saying one simple sentence, although we may take it different way depending on what level we have, but we should try to take it as it is. As it is very, very important. So here one more thing comes. If Swamiji says that before meditation, you should read few couplets before meditation, take it as it is, because he is seeing it from different way at a different level, which of course is for benefit for each and every one. So in that respect also, I always have been trying, at least at my end, that whenever I meditate separately, other than all these sessions which we have been doing, and first I read a few couplets of Sarved and then go for meditation. And definitely the progression has been very different. I previously was not doing like this. Previously means almost 20 years back. I just used to sit for meditation and then meditate. The time I started reading out Sarved before meditation and then meditating, the impact has been very, very different. Would you like to share something from your side if you think if you have some experience in that?
Yeah, of course. So same, like, probably my experience is more or less same, not exactly. When we talk about the level, then definitely it's a different. But when I started practicing Vihangam Yoga, I was also practicing like just meditate. In fact, I didn't know anything else other than just meditating in the beginning. So I was meditating, then I got to know more. Then that's interest came up, and then I also get benefited. And I started realizing a few that okay, I'm getting the benefit from this. Then I thought, okay, let's do something else. Then I asked, my friend basically what exactly I can do, what is the proper way of practicing. He did told me like, okay, you should practice this way. And then he did mention about Sarved, like, okay, you should read couplet and then you should do this. And yeah, indeed, when I started doing this, I can definitely say that yes, it was the level of I will say the impact of meditation in my daily life, in my life, is basically definitely it's more and more positive. And even today, I do. I mean, probably I will add here to be. I mean, just I will confess it that yeah. I mean, when you say that okay, you should not add your your thought or level of based on level of your intellect. So basically what my thought is like, okay, I mean, I have added it and I have to confess that okay, I read 2 pages, no matter it's 10 couplets, 5 couplets, 2 couplets, or just 1 couplet. So that at least I do remember next day where I have to start, right? So 2 pages, okay, next day from this page you have to start. So that's how I do. So yeah, I did something add on top of this, and then I took your word, so probably I'll not do that, and I'll see how can I improve in this area. So
Yeah. So one thing I always remember whenever I get an opportunity to have some interaction with Swamiji or Vihangam Maharaj or Namdevji Maharaj, then there are lots of things which comes from them. So it is not that easy all the time to remember, each and every word what they are saying. But mostly I have spent a lot of time with Sant Sri Namdevji Maharaj. He used to mention one very interesting thing. He said to me that we should prepare ourselves in such a way that we can be taken over by a higher power. So that means prepare yourself in such a way that someone at a higher level, at a higher zone, can take you over, means can rule you, right? So here he was mentioning about Swamiji himself, that he is at that level that actually he can take over anyone. But if you go on the philosophy of spirituality, then Swamiji has mentioned that the souls are independently eligible to take their own decisions, right? Any soul has their own right, has its own right to make whatever decision actually they want to take. No, someone can force, pressurize for some time period, it can be, but ultimately it's the soul who is deciding everything. So even if suppose at one particular time, this is I'm saying just for the sake of saying, just to understand, even if say a higher power wants to take you over, whether you are eligible for that or not for a longer time period, it completely depends on you itself, right? That person. So for that reason, if a person wants to progress on the path of spirituality, the presence of the master is very, very important. Very important. If someone wants to do things on their own basis, okay, some progression will be there, but there is a limitation. Even Sadhguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj, the couplet what he has written in Swarved or wherever, whatever he has mentioned, everywhere he has mentioned about Adi Guru, Nitya Anadi Sadhguru, considering him as in fact, he was his guru, right? So a disciple has to be surrendered to the master in such a way that he makes himself eligible enough to be taken over by that master, so that that master can let you do the way he wants the things to be done. And all of us, like being disciple, are not capable enough to do, no matter how much sci-fi imagination we can do. Someone can think, okay, can I fly? Can I go to moon from here itself? Something like that. Anyone can think anything, right? But it is not an impossible thing, provided we have surrendered it to the Sadguru. If Sadguru wants it to happen, it is possible. And then Sant Sri Namdevji Maharaj mentioned in a different way with an example. Do you see any movie and directors and actors? Actor is a person. He has his own identity, an independent identity. But when he is signing a movie, thereafter, he is bound to follow what the director is saying. Director has taken over that particular actor, whichever way director wants it to happen. If you yourself have not made eligible enough to that, then that movie, the way director wants it to create, will not happen. So even if that actor is having an independent identity, but when he is into that movie, he's not that independent person now. He is actually that person for which he is doing that role, being governed and guided and controlled by that director. Then collectively, the motive will be completed. So here also, what Sant Sri Namdev Ji Maharaj was mentioning, that we as a disciple of Swamiji, we are there. What is the meaning of being a disciple? We have to give ourselves to him. What is the meaning of giving ourselves to him? Is that my factor, me, I. Till the time that factor will be with us, we will not be able to make ourselves completely eligible. That is the main crux. So the day, the time we remove I from within, I'm completely surrendered to him, and that higher power, that higher zone will take over me. And believe me, that higher power will not do any injustice. The way we want to lead our life, and whichever way we will be able to complete our life, if we let ourselves be handled by that higher power zone, then that will make your life much more better, much more better compared to the way you do it on your own. And that's why Swamiji says that you do my task, I will do all of your tasks. You do my task, whatever is being assigned to you, whichever way it is coming to you, take it as it is, do it. I will take care of you completely. In fact, all of your tasks. I have so many of, on my personal basis, so many of experiences I have been on this front. Many people ask me that, Subhash, how do you find time to do all these things? Don't you have office work? Don't you have family? Don't you have any other things also? You appear everywhere here and there for other things also. You do sports, you do this, that, etc., etc. How does it happen? So the simple answer is, I don't know. But if I have to answer that question, I'm being governed probably. I'm being governed by the master, but it is only possible when I am accepting it. If the acceptance is not at my level, probably it would not be possible. Because as I mentioned, souls are different, and soul have their own individual identity. Unless and until we lose that identity and surrender ourselves to the master, it is not possible to happen that way. Not possible at all. So that's why I think I'm saying this all as it is part, when we are not taking things on as it is basis, that means we are including our me and I factor into it, right? So if that factor is added into it, then actually we are making our own presence into that. That means that actor is not into that role. Actually, he's bringing his own identity into that to make things happen wherever, here and there, actually. So that's what the point comes as. So there is nothing wrong as such, adding out our own thought or analysis or anything, but the way we have to progress, it will go towards that only. At the beginning time, everyone will try to understand, what does this mean? If Swamiji says one simple sentence, then definitely that person will try to understand based on his own experience, based on his own intellect, his own whatever he is at that time point. But eventually, the more he will take those words and follow on that, it will more move towards as it is. And that's why satsang is very, very important, where we learn so many things from each other through our experience. And of course, Swamiji has been guiding for all these things every time. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Subhaji. And I'm sure the audience also are, those who are with us, getting benefit with this important. But before we move to the next question, we have a question from our audience. And it says, like, how Swamiji has explained God in Swarved. Is Vihangam Yoga talks about any specific religion? So, yeah.
Okay, I think this is again a very hot question all the time. Whenever we do any activity, or whenever we send any email or reach out to some different type of people, we always mention that Vihangam Yoga activities are not religious activities. So how do we define religion? Hindi mein dharm, dharmic, right? But the definition of dharma, I think, as and when the life has progressed in this world has changed a bit from original definition of dharma. What Sant Sri Vigyan Dev Ji Maharaj says, what I have heard him during his Divyavani, he mentions that the meaning of dharma means the day an individual is able to hear the sound of the soul, right? The day you are able to hear the sound or the presence of the soul at that level, at that time, anything what you perform on that level, on the basis of the soul, becomes dharma. That is the simple definition. Dharma is righteousness, we call it actually, righteousness. So right and wrong is defined at a basis, on a basis. And when we talk about dharma, which is a spiritual term, spiritual, adhyatmic, where the basic term is the spirit, the atma, the soul itself. So once we reach out to the level of the soul and then perform anything at that level, which is a conscious level, any activity or anything done at that level becomes a dharma, a righteousness. So that's how the term dharma was defined. But what happened, probably, my guess is that people have taken this as the way of living your life. An old previous time, whichever year, whichever yug or whatever time it was, rishis and saints were there. They were very much on the basis of soul itself. And they're saying this is the way to live the life. When the things progressed from there onward, different type of people started, kings and all those started, different people also came into the country and all those. Then they took it in a different way. And if you take it again, linking it from our previous discussion, as it is, right? It was not taken as it is the way it had to be. People started injecting their own thoughts, their own understanding and all those. And that's how right now in this world, in the name of religion, there are so many religious activities are happening. And what everyone claims that this is the right way. Right?
Whatever I am doing, that's right.
Whatever I am doing is the right one. But ultimately, the definition of dharma is the basis of the soul. And believe me, according to my experience also, anyone, whoever is at that level, will have the same religion. And it doesn't matter from which community that person comes, from which country that person comes, from what race the person comes, male, female, doesn't matter. Soul is of one type. It doesn't have any gender. It doesn't have any color. It doesn't have any location where exactly it has to be, right? So it's just one type. So, and all these things have been mentioned in Swarved also, that the activities of Vihangam Yoga is not about who you are. It's not about from where you come. It's not about where you reside. It doesn't matter what you eat. It doesn't matter what you work for. It doesn't matter at all for anything. What it matters for? It matters how you elevate yourself from the sense organs body to the mind, and from there onward to the soul. And this is true for everyone. Everyone, no matter who we are, where we are. And not just that, there are few examples where these things are applied not just to human. Not just to human. There have been many examples. Maybe someday we will talk about those things also, but not just human. Other are also lives. Animals are there, plants are there. There are so many other types also there. It applies to that as well. It applies to that as well. So in Swarved, Swamiji has never mentioned anything as religious thing. It has always been dharma, and dharma for the basis of the soul, not as a body or any other activities, this or that, or anything we do. That's why we always go on that basis that Vihangam Yoga is applicable to anyone and everyone in this world. Anyone and everyone, no matter who that person is. And as far as the question comes with and terminology God, right? How Swamiji, whether Swamiji has explained about anything about God or not. So Swamiji has mentioned at a very beginning level itself, Ishwar hai मैं मिलाऊंगा। अद्भुत मार्ग योग विहंगम, मैं तुमको बतलाऊंगा। यदि विधिवत तुम साधन करी हो, अमर लोक पहुंचाऊंगा। महाप्रभु अनंत दयामय, उनसे तो ही मिलाऊंगा। कहे सदा फल परमानंदा, आवागमन मिटाऊंगा। So in Swarved itself, Swamiji has very clearly mentioned in the first chapter of the first canto itself. Swarved has total right now 6 cantos, and total number of chapters are 68, and number of couplets are 3,900 plus. So in a very few couplets, first I think within 12 couplets, Swamiji has mentioned what is the meaning, what entity is the God or Almighty or the Supreme Being. At many places, Swamiji has used terminology like Parabrahm, Paramatma, Nih Akshar. Nih Akshar also. Swamiji has used these terminologies on the basis of the properties of that Almighty. And he mentioned that there are 6 eternal entities available throughout, everywhere. Eternal means they are always there. Among those 6, 4 are conscious entities, and 1 is neither conscious nor inert. 1 is semi-conscious, semi-inert, or you can say changeable sometimes. So the one which is neither inert nor conscious is the time, Kal. And Prakriti, the nature, is the other one, semi one. And the rest 4 are like this. One is the Parabrahma, the Almighty, which is super conscious entity present everywhere, into everything, and everything is into it. There is nothing untouched from it. Nothing else exists without its presence into it. That is Almighty. Next one is the Brahm. The Brahm is defined as the creator of the universe, creator and taking care of it and then destroying it. It has its own process, how the whole universe is being created and how he sucks his energy, and then everything gets destroyed and goes into the pralay, Srishti and pralay. It is defined on that basis. Third entity, Swamiji has said, conscious entity, is the Nitya Anadi Sadguru, which is a very different entity compared to Brahma and Supreme Brahma, but as equal as Supreme Brahma itself, equivalent to that. Reason he has also given for that. And the fourth entity, which is conscious entity, which is eternal, is infinite souls. Infinite. So all the souls, whichever we know, we don't know, doesn't matter. At least you and I, we are souls, right? So likewise, there are infinite number of souls, and all these souls are conscious entities. These are the 4 types of conscious entities. And Swamiji has explained very clearly in Swarved at many different places that the ultimate objective of any soul is to get united with that Supreme Soul. Because once that is done, then only you will have the complete peace. Without that, complete peace is not possible. Is not possible at all. So for complete peace, the soul has to be united, amalgamated with the Supreme Soul. And that is called, actually, this process of amalgamating soul with the Supreme Soul is called yoga. That is the only definition in reality. So what Swamiji has mentioned everywhere in Swarved, that all the souls should try to put their effort in such a way that they can reach out to their ultimate. And that's why in Swarved, Swamiji has mentioned so many different characteristics of Supreme Being, how it functions, what it does or doesn't do anything, how what we say, it is not that. What we say, it is not that. In fact, Swamiji has mentioned in Swarved that in fact, Nih Akshar, Parabrahma, Paramatma, Prabhu, whatever name we say, it is not its name. Parabrahma, that Almighty, cannot be cannot be called with one specific name as such. We are limiting. We are limiting by giving the name. It is beyond anything. Beyond anything. We cannot imagine about that vastness. Not possible for soul. Soul is very small entity in front of that supreme soul. Very small. Although Swamiji has mentioned this also, that every soul has a power of 16 suns. But still, one soul is almost negligible in front of the power of the Supreme Soul. So yes, in Swarved, Swamiji, if we see clearly, and Swamiji has mentioned in the next couplet this also, that whole Swarved is nothing but discussing about these 6 entities. All these 6 eternal entities, the Parabrahm, the Brahm, Nityanadi Sadguru, infinite souls, the Prakriti, the nature, and the time. The whole Swarved is about discussing these 6 eternal entities, nothing more than that. So what soul is and what its objective, what Parabrahm is, unless and until we have that knowledge, we cannot progress and be dedicated to have achieving that. What Brahm does, where it exists, how Nitya Anadi Sadguru performs, what it does, unless and until we know all those things, the soul will not put the effort to achieve that objective. And that's why Swamiji decided to have this Sadgranth Swarved, to let anyone and everyone know and understand and progress on that, to experience all these entities on the basis of the consciousness, the soul itself. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Subhashi. I think we have another question from our audience, and I think this is coming from Chandanji. Thank you, Chandanji, for this question. And what he's asking here, what Guru says about soul existence. If I'm ready, yeah.
Hi, Venu here. The question from me actually.
Hi,
I
Venu.
posted to Chandan. Hi. First of all, thank you, Subhaji, for your wonderful explanation. The question is, my question is, what Swamiji explained about the soul existence post it deviated from the body?
Can you please repeat?
Whether soul exists post
Okay.
separated from the body.
After death, basically, once we leave this body, then what happens basically, whether the soul exists or not, right? So that's the question.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Venuji, for this question, first of all. And as Vikasji and I were discussing just right now, that Swamiji has mentioned about 6 eternal entities, and one of them is infinite number of souls. When I use the word, or Swamiji has used the word eternal. Eternal means it doesn't get destroyed at all. It is as it is. It is just being coated by different things all the time, depending on its own characteristics and behavior. And what happens is, if somebody is dying or somebody is dead, or if somebody is born, that doesn't mean that the new soul has been created. Or if a person dies, that doesn't mean that that soul have died. No, it is not. The soul enters this body from a specific door, from a specific point into this body. And that is from here, the center of the skull, the soul enters, which is also called 10th door. We have in our body, this body, human body, 9 doors: 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, 1 throat, and then 2 genital organs. These are the 9 doors a human body has. But there is one more secret door called 10th door, through which the soul enters this body and goes to the heart, of course, from there onward. But that 10th door is locked from inside. And when the death happens, then if that door is not opened, then what will happen? The very logical answer to this is, whichever door is opened, that soul will come out from it. Say, for example, if there is a house and the house has one entrance, someone entered from that gate, and then gate is locked. And now the person has to come out from that house, and the gate is locked. What will happen? He will try to search out another door which is opened, or maybe the window or something else. Whichever is easier one, the person will come out from that. when the time comes for him to come out from the house. So same thing happens with the soul and human also. We have been given this body. The body is designed on a specific basis, how the pranas are designed inside to take care of all the circulation of the blood, as well as breathing, and everything is very much intact, designed properly on that basis. And what happens is, when the death is coming, then this circulation, the pranic circulation and the blood circulation, the blood pressure starts changing. And what happens is, a soul is not thinking, I mean, soul, this body is not appropriate to be there. It is not appropriate now. So it will automatically come out. So if it has to come out, then whichever door is easy for it to come out, it will come out from that door. That's why many times in the movies or otherwise also, you might have seen if somebody is dying or he's dead, his mouth is open like this. So people say that the soul basically has come out from there. But that is the only sign which can be opened and closed. The eyes, the ears, the nose, and genital organs, they are always open. So you will not be able to know from where does it come. So coming to your question again, if the 10th door is not opened, then the soul comes out from any of the other doors. If the 10th door is open, the soul will go from there. So that means when I say that soul come out from whichever door it is, that means it is still exists after the death as well. But the point comes that after death, what people feel, I mean, that soul will feel. That could be the very fine question from here onward, that if somebody has died, the soul has come out, doesn't matter from whichever door it has come out. But what happens thereafter? The important thing is we have to understand one more thing. Till the time the soul is inside this body, as I was mentioning to Vikasji, that the soul is habituated with this body so much. The soul is habituated with these sense organs so much. The soul is habituated with this voice so much. The soul is habituated with the thought process of the mind so much and intellect so much. That means the soul has been habituated with all these entities inside this body so much that it doesn't do anything on its own. It doesn't do anything on its own. To do anything, the soul, since it is habituated with all these tools given to it, it becomes so much dependent on all these things, then to do anything, it requires that tool. Say, for example, if I have to speak, my soul is so much dependent on this voice system that unless and until I have this system, my soul will not be able to speak. But that doesn't mean that the voice or a soul cannot speak other than this body also. Goswami Tulsidas ji has mentioned, which Sadhguru Sadafal Dev Ji Maharaj narrated at the time when he left his body in the state of Samadhi. What he narrated, which Goswami Tulsidas ji had mentioned, Bin pag chalahi sunahi binu kana, kar binu karm karahi vidhinana, anan rahit sakal ras bhogi, bin vani vakta bad jogi. Means for a yogi to do any task, any work, the hands are not required. To go from one place to another, legs are not required. To speak something, this voice is not required. That yogi can speak, can do anything and everything on its own basis wherever it is. And this was written by Goswami Tulsidas ji, and Sadhguru Sadafal Dev Ji Maharaj mentioned during his leaving his mortal body that this is the one which I am proving right now in front of so many people. What Goswami Das ji mentioned, and I am proving it actually. That yes, it is very much possible and true for a yogi to speak without having the body also. And he was speaking all these things from outside of the body. So that is possible for that soul who has made himself or herself eligible enough not to be dependent on this body throughout the time. And that's what the journey of spirituality is all about. That you perform everything in such a way that this body, what has been given to you, you are not habituated to this, you are detached from it. If it is with you, doesn't matter. If it is not with you, doesn't matter. So here, if the soul is leaving the body, first thing is that it still exists, but it cannot do anything on its own. Why? Because it is so much habituated with this body and every entity and things inside this body that if it is not with it, it can't do anything. It is just hanging. Nothing can be done. Say, for example, you have a robot, right? You have a robot. And if you take out the engine from it, or if you take out the electricity from it, although it is a reverse example, but if you take out that its engine from
Software.
it, right? If you take out the engine from it, robot definitely will stop, it will not function, but that engine also cannot do anything. For it to do anything, it has to have that body of the robot, or somewhere it has to be fixed, then only you can see what exactly it can do, because it has been designed for that robot. Similarly, that soul is habituated, I will not say designed, but the soul got habituated with the performance of this body in such a way that if it is not with it, it will not be able to perform. But those who are yogis, those who have been practicing, trying to put their effort to take themselves out from this body, not forcefully by the death, but on their own basis, then their existence beyond this body will also be prominent. And Swamiji says that it is true for everyone. And that's why what Swamiji mentions, that Vihangam Yoga knowledge is that knowledge through which you know the knowledge of death itself. There are many people who will tell you how to live the life. Vihangam Yoga teaches you how to win over the death. Whether you are into the body or not, doesn't matter after time, when you have made yourself eligible enough to not to have body, doesn't matter to you on that.
Okay, Subhaji, thank you.
Thank you, Energy. Any more question we have from the audience? Okay, not probably, or any one of you wants to unmute yourself, please, you can do just like as Mr. Venu did, or otherwise I think, because do you have more questions?
Well, I do have, but I mean, considering the time, and I know that, okay, these discussions are definitely fruitful for us, and it's definitely time consuming. So I'd like to just ask a simple experience. I mean, you did mention about the personal experience, right? So I would like to share with our participants here, which inspire everyone. So just a small experience.
Well, one thing I would like to mention here, I know it can be a dangerous thing, but still I would like to mention it here, which I think is true for everyone. I have always been trying to experience myself being completely surrendered to the master, right? Which means I have been trying to reduce my egoistic nature, which exists for everyone. Everyone has ego. And I know about myself also. So I have been trying to reduce my egoistic nature to whatever maximum possible. And I think that is a very interesting journey I have so far. Those who know me since my childhood, I had been very different person. Very, very different person. Many people used to say, he's such an egoistic person. And probably I was also. That doesn't mean to say that right now I am not. I do have ego. And that's why I know I exist. So till the time I have that feeling that I do exist, I have a small part of ego with me, because the ultimate thing which is to say that you are not egoistic means you don't feel like that you exist. You have been taken over by that superior power. So I would say that is not there completely yet, but my journey has been in such a way that I have been trying to reduce my ego as much as possible so that I can make myself eligible enough to surrender completely to the master. And this journey is very, very difficult, because once you are on that path, on that basis, then you have to learn, not just learn. Learning is something else, but you have to have that feeling also in the same way. One can learn something and can pretend to be like, I can right now show my face, very smiley face, but it may be possible that I'm not smiling from within, from inside, right? But what I'm saying is, it's not just from outside. I'm trying to do it from inside. And that journey has been so difficult that in that case, you really don't bother about whether you are being praised by someone, whether someone is abusing you, what kind of respect you have been given, or in a reverse way. All these things should not matter. Should not matter, I'm saying. That doesn't mean that you ignore. I'm not saying about ignorance. You face it, but it doesn't impact you. And there is nothing as such. It's the same thing, like it is there, it is not there, it doesn't matter to you. So that journey has been very, very difficult. I'm not saying that it has been completed yet, but I think as long as being a disciple is concerned, surrendership is the most and most important thing. Without that, the journey would not, I would say the journey of spirituality would not start. So the early we learn, or again, I'm saying not learn, the early we shift ourselves or change ourselves, not being egoistic and surrendered completely to the master and taken over by him from wherever he is the best journey for any single life. And I've been trying to put myself in that situation condition in such a way that it becomes possible. And one more thing I have very clear feeling also is that it is not possible to be done on your own. Unless and until the master himself blesses you, that condition will also not come on your automatic. No matter how so far you reach, doesn't matter. The ultimate one will be given by the master himself. The master himself. We are not that capable enough people that, and we don't have that much time, or we are working, we have families, we have everything, right? So in that case, the guidance of the master and the blessings of the master is very, very important. So there is no ifs and buts. To be very open with you here, one more thing, Vikasji. At a very early time, I had been doing some testing also. Oh, really? ऐसा हो सकता है क्या? स्वामी जी ऐसा कर सकते हैं क्या? I've done that long back. Long back means 20, 25 years back. But I always pray to Swamiji even at that time also that even if such kind of feeling is there with me, I know it is for me to become more and more firm, right? To become more and more firm with better belief and determination, dedication towards the master himself. But I have always been ready to give the test. If we are testing the master at one time, really you have to be present for infinite number of times to be tested by him. To be tested by him. So it's the choice, what you want and which way you want to progress on that. So I have been trying to put myself many times in difficult conditions and situations. Again, I am not going to reveal many things right now about my few personal experiences also, but sometimes it comes to you that now you don't have anything. Everything is there. Everything is there with you, but you have a situation in such a way that you have to choose which side you have to be. This side or that side. And that is a test. If you are this side, then you have to leave all these things. And you have this side, this will vanish. And the point definitely comes, and multiple times it comes. As and when you progress, and there are various different milestones. And at every milestone where it ends, that test comes. Just like as in normal day, when we do go for any course or something, once you finish the course, you have a test. You have to pass that test, right? If you don't pass, revise it again, and then come back again for the test. Similar type of thing happens here also. You progress, a milestone is there. Here, a bottleneck thing comes. Which way you want to go? Still you want to be here or you want to cross? When you have to cross, you have to leave everything. But we as a human, we feel that, "Arey, chal, chhut jayega." You feel like very different. I mean, it comes once you feel like being attached to something. But believe me, once you leave it and reach out to the next one, everything will come automatically. So actually, you will not lose anything. You will not lose anything. Anything means anything. That's why Swamiji says that you don't have to go anywhere on a mountain or in a cave to leave everything behind and just practice meditation kind of thing. No, you don't have to. You have everything. You will have everything. It's just that your consciousness has to change. You have to detach your consciousness from all these things, what are there around you. And that's what I have been trying to put my effort. And of course, all comes from blessings of the master himself. But you have to put your time. Without putting time, I mean, how things will happen, it is not possible. So my request and suggestion for everyone has been always that have a belief and faith in the master. And for that, you must read Surveil and have interaction as much as possible with different people. And then once slowly you get realized that what is happening, what has happened, and then slowly the conversion, I'll not say conversion, moving towards your originality will start. So I have been trying to do that since long time, and that's why I have been cut down myself from many other activities. It has happened automatically because so much of responsibility is there that I continue on all those things, try to put myself in such a way that I don't miss out anything because it's my responsibility to do it, right? So if I'm responsible for something, I have to be honest about that also. If I have to be honest about that, that means I have to perform on the basis of my full capacity and capability. And if I know what my capacity and capability is, then I have to perform on that basis also. That's how I have been progressing so far. I don't know how many years I still would continue in this way or what exactly, it all being governed by himself, by the master.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Subhashji. With respect to the time, I think, yeah, I mean, we'll move on and over to you, Chandanji, for the next part here.
So, okay, thank you, Vikasji, being with me together. And it was really nice interacting. I always feel like when you talk like this, putting your eyes into someone else's eyes, then it comes in a very different way. And when you are looking at the computer, it comes in a very different way. So thank you very much for your time today. And I don't know if anyone else has any further question this last minute or any specific comment. If not, then we will move towards the closer. We'll do short Santi part and then we will close. Any question or any comments from anyone?
I did come up with a question while I was listening to you, but it's going to take long to answer that. But I leave you with that question. I will answer later, Subhashji. Very simple thing that came to my mind is when you mentioned in your closing comments about the tests that Swamiji is putting us through. So he is putting our soul to test, our body to test.
So, okay, we will discuss about this definitely.
Yes, it's not a short answer, but it came to my mind. I thought I'd throw it out, and so you can later on.
Sure. We will discuss this definitely. Yeah. Thank you, Srinivasi. And I know Vaibhavi has always been lots of inquisitiveness, and she has sent me last time also a few questions to be discussed, but probably we'll discuss next time.
Yeah, thanks, Subhashji. It's just that I'm so overwhelmed listening to all that, and I feel so small currently that so much is yet to explore. So, but this is very, very helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vaibhaviji. Podarji, anything you want to mention? Okay.
No,
Danish,
nothing.
Ji.
That is nothing.
Ji. Thank you, Podarji. Danish Bhai, anything from South Africa?
Jai Sadhgurudev Prabhuji, I've enjoyed, I've just heard the last bit. There are so many thoughts that run in man's mind all the time. One of the biggest things that I find is that when we have to leave this body or leave this journey of life, or leave your career or whatever choices you have to make in that, I believe Guru is the one that does everything. And he is the soul interactor with the soul. Jai Sadhgurudev.
Ji. Thank you very much, Danish Bhai, for putting your comments and your thoughts. Thank you very much. So here, Chandanji, anything you want to mention quickly?
No, Subhaji, all good.
Okay.
Thanks for having this discussion. It was
I think
wonderful.
previously you mentioned this morning that you may have some question, but nevertheless, we will continue that.
No, so same questions, the one which you got in chat. So
Oh.
these were the questions today morning. Me and Venu was discussing, and all these questions Venu was asking. So I thought of putting these questions in this forum so that he'll get a proper answer. So thanks for answering.
Thank you. Thank you, Chandanji. So now let's go for a quick Shanti part, because here myself will do. He Prabhu Shanti Swarupa Ho. Shanti Shanti. Shanti Shanti Jana Shanti. Purna Shanti. He Prabhu Shanti Pradhan Kara Durabhu Sarvaya Shanti Deva Sada Phala Shanti Shanti Sukha Shanti 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 Sukha Shanti. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time and today's effort. I feel like it was a wonderful interaction and discussion. Just for information, those who don't know, but today we are having a session here in Malaysia, 6 p.m. Singapore time, 6 to 7:30. And that's why we will not have a specific practice session at 7 p.m. because that is included here in the session from 6 to 7:30 itself. The event is being done jointly in conjunction with the High Commissioner of India, of Malaysia, of course, and a few other partners as well. We will be live from 6 p.m. onward. If you are available, please do join us on Zoom. 8 p.m. session will continue as it is. 10 p.m. session will also continue as it is. Thank you very much. Take care. Jai Sadhgurudev.